Backbone is a masterpiece in storytelling, as seen from the perspective of the lower-class private investigator Howard Loader, and a glimpse into a life filled with struggles based on class or societal status. Accompanied by a calm but prominent jazz soundtrack, and hands down some of the best pixel art and scene building I have ever seen, Backbone is a ride which you will not want to get off. Hey guys, it's Cody with Indie Game Pulse. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and notification bell to find the best indie games and hear genuine reviews from an indie game fanatic like yourself. Let's get right into it. Thank you to the publisher, Raw Fury, for sending a review code my way. As I mentioned, Howard Loader is the main character in Backbone, and one through which you will explore the city, the ominous dystopian name for a futuristic city with severe Vancouver inspirations. I'll dive into the excellent art and world building a bit later, but let me first give you a small hint of the story. Major spoilers will be avoided in my review, as the story and discovery of it are essential to your experience. As Howard moves about his apartment early on, organizing and cleaning the place up a bit, and helping to familiarize you with the simple controls, his newest client enters the scene with a new case for Howard to investigate. Odette's husband Jeremy has been missing since last night. She highly suspects he is cheating and wants some proof that she can present before a court of his unfaithfulness. So Howard gathers the necessary information in either abrupt, condescending tones or in a more soothing manner. The choices are up to you as the player. And then he takes to the street to find Jeremy and uses his contacts in the area as well as his keen personal charm and attitude to make inroads with new connections. As Howard seeks to gain access to The Bite, a swanky downtown bar where Jeremy was last seen, you begin to feel how much of an outcast Howard is, and that it's not only because he's disheveled and a bit on edge at times, but also because of who he is inherently, that is to say his race or class. As Howard interacts with more and more characters in the ever-growing city, you'll see time and time again how starkly divided the system of classification is, with the apes at the top, and larger predators like wolves, bears, and dogs filing in just behind, and then down toward the bottom of the food chain, as you will, come the rodents like Howard and his client Odette. The folks that just don't matter and might fall between the cracks as the classes and races separate further. I won't go any further into the story. There are some big things that happen very early on, within the first hour actually, which many of you have probably already seen in the prologue, but overall the story just sucked me in. As I mentioned earlier, the gameplay is very simple, using just a few buttons that you can rebind on the keyboard, but it doesn't appear that you can rebind on a controller. I don't think this is a big issue since it really only takes 3 to 4 buttons to play the whole game. Conversation is the name of the game here, and while there is some light exploration and puzzle solving in order to find the most effective means of, say, gaining access to an exclusive bar, the gameplay is not demanding. There are also some light stealth sections that will take a bit of trial and error or ingenuity to complete, but these are not overwhelming in the least. What does demand your attention, on the other hand, are the hundreds of conversations you will have and choices to make throughout your time playing. Some characters might respond better to more direct, harsh demands, and others might require a little more schmoozing. While obviously being a somewhat hyperbolic and focused look at the nuances of conversation, the game actually nails some of the different and sometimes hilarious ways of talking with other people. You might take on a more placating tone with the grieving otter Odette, or, seeing as her case is utterly hopeless, you might choose to be abrupt and get to your actual work. And it is, again, in these conversations where you see the stark gaps between the classes, or kinds as they're called in the game, which is naturally appropriate for animals. But Howard, as a raccoon and one of the lowest members of society, is constantly looked down upon and talked down to, and at times it can be rather infuriating and make you want to respond in more bold terms. Whether you do or not is up to you, and it may just affect where your path leads in the future. And speaking of paths, let's talk about all the amazing places you'll explore in the city. From the late-night glow of the Granville downtown area, to the fancy street shops in Gastown, to the dilapidated apartments and corner markets in the West End, the world is diverse and intricate. Each scene, just like a city, has layers upon layers upon layers of information to take in, and there are many small touches in Backbone that make the city feel alive. Silhouettes perched in windows above the street, leaves rippling in the breeze, cars and people moving along the streets as they go about their lives, It is easy to sit and honestly lose minutes just focusing on the multitude of moving parts that make up the city. Even on the bigger scale, taking in the scenery as a whole is comparable to browsing Instagram travel photos. Like, you can't tell me that this scene right here isn't magnificent, and there are so many more like it. The characters are greatly drawn and easily distinguishable, in my opinion, by their different clothing styles, colors, and even mannerisms, which is hard to do in pixel art. Renee is a fox who you will encounter a little later in the story, but she is so easily recognizable with her emerald green jacket, reddish fox fur, and her calm and collected demeanor which she naturally displays. One more note on the graphics before I talk about the soundtrack, and that is the immaculate lighting. I find that oftentimes pixel art games tend to have a flat or static look to them, but with the light dappled by the overhead trees or beaming through a window, creating soft or sharp shadows of the people and objects in the scene, it makes the world again just come to life. It might just be me, but when I would stand and have a conversation in the game and see the light reflecting off of Howard and casting his shadow onto the wall behind, it just amazed me every time that the developers put in that extra time and effort, and it pays off in dividends. Now, the soundtrack is actually something I'm not going to fawn over, unlike the rest of the game. I think it's good, and it serves its purpose well. But at times it left me wanting. As I mentioned in the intro, it does feature a lot of jazz influence, which is to be expected in a crime noir type game, and I quite enjoyed the moody jazz and light piano melodies that I heard. However, there were times when the soundtrack just stopped playing, particularly during more lengthy conversations, and I just felt a bit caught off guard by these moments. Everyone these days talks about immersion and not wanting to feel like one thing in particular pulls you out of a game, but if I'm being transparent, the missing music or sound effects actually made me start thinking about how and why they were missing. There are portions of conversation where everything just dies off. Maybe it's supposed to be showing how focused Howard is on the conversation that the noises of the world fade away, but it was distracting to me as a player. I guess that comes down to equal parts sound design and soundtrack, maybe. I did enjoy what I heard of the soundtrack, but the allocation and use of it left something to be desired. So, to wrap it up, the question is, should you play Backbone? I highly recommend it. Now, I know a slower-paced conversational game might not fit everyone's preferences, but if you are ever going to take a chance on one, this is it. With such a well-written and poignant story and clever conversational choices, there is so much to unfold through personal interactions and meetings in the city. The world-building and art is sublime, and I would even rank it in my top pixel art games I've ever played. Backbone has been built up for years as a game to look forward to, and it's such a relief to be able to recommend this as an adventure that you should not miss. Thank you very much to my 920 subscribers for your support. If you like what you see here at Indie Game Pulse, consider helping us grow by supporting us on Patreon. For more top indie game countdowns and reviews, check out the videos on your screen now, and I'll see you on the other side.